My name is Hunter Boyle. I thank you very much for coming to this session. I have about one main goal and a couple of ancillary goals for this. Really, what I hope to do here today is to help you walk away with 3 to 5 ideas that you can use to, as the title shows, dramatically improve the impact of your email marketing. So, how many of you here have a list of, let's say, less than 10,000? Okay, a couple. I'm guessing the rest of you are probably over 10,000. Not going to ask everybody to share their exact list size, but the point of this presentation and the reason that this came about, I used to talk about list building an awful lot, and I found from a lot of people at affiliate events and other events, some people felt their list size was either okay where it was and they were trying to get more out of what they already have, or people had lists that they felt were small enough that they didn't see themselves getting to 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. They wanted to know what steps they could take right away. So with that in mind, I took some of that feedback, I took some examples from some of our clients and things that worked really well. And again, this presentation, it's not just list size, it's what you do with it. I've already had that concept challenged by a couple of people, which is fine. If you're confident with your list size, there's nothing wrong with that, but there are definitely things that you can do no matter if you have a list of 500 or 5,000 or 50,000 that are going to help take what you're doing with email to the next level. And that's what we're going to cover here today. As I mentioned, my name is Hunter Boyle. I work with AWeber. We are one of the leading ESPs for small and mid-sized businesses. I've been doing email for quite a few years. I've doubled lists for marketing experiments when I was with 1-800-hotels.com. One of our revamps to our sales email increased sales results by close to 600%. So again, having a lot of different positions with email over the years, from content, marketing, testing, and optimization. This is really designed to kind of help you guys take some of the best ideas, roll them into what you're doing, and after the presentation, I'll be very happy to discuss with you any specifics, any things, questions, challenges that you have with your own list. I'm going to try and speed through this and go through a couple of the sections a little bit faster than usual so that we can deal with any questions or talk about some of your specific programs afterwards. My Twitter handle is Hunter Boyle. The company's name is AWeber, and if you feel like tweeting anything during the session, please feel free. I love to get feedback, and then at the end, I hope you will fill out the speaker evaluation card so I can find out how I did for you and if I hit my goal of giving you a couple of ideas you can take away and really start to use immediately. Let's jump right in. The biggest question in terms of email marketing, as I see it today, is not just how do we make a bigger list, right? We're obviously looking for more leads, we're looking for more sales, we're looking for more business results, but how do we actually use email to build relationships? How many people in this room are really, really excited about signing up for any new emails at this point in time? All right, one hand, and he's just lying. So, I mean, we look at calls to action, and I don't know how many of you might have caught Tim Ash's session earlier today. It was really good. You know, he's talking about optimization. We see things like subscribe, right? Give me access. Click here. Download now. A lot of things that just, nobody's excited about that stuff. Getting free white, nobody's excited about one more free white paper, right? There are things that we can do to build our email lists, to build our email leads, our sales, and our response. But one of the first things we have to do, one of the first things we have to start with is thinking about email as a tool a little bit differently than we have for so long, right? We need to think of it now as a way to really build relationships. Over the past few years, with the rise of social media and the way that we can connect with businesses beyond just an email or phone level where we can kind of see what they're doing in social streams, that makes the bar even higher for email, right? So thinking about email a little bit differently and that kind of mindset is one of the first things we want to do to prepare for some of the changes we're going to make. Let's just take a quick look at what doesn't happen if you don't use your email from a relationship perspective, right? Trust and authority, how are you going to get that from people if you invite them to sign up for something and then the next few things that you send them they're lame, right? Let's just put it that way. Whether you're not using a strong enough welcome message or a strong enough welcome series, whether your incentive is not enough, whether your content is weak, whether the frequency is off, you need to be thinking about how you're using email to help build your trust and authority. Let's look at an example. Anybody seen this email before? No? I apologize if you can't read it that well in some of the back rows, but basically, some of you will probably see, and I might as well, see a lot of emails coming like this after this show or after other trade events. This was an email from a firm called Magic Logics that I don't mean to call out publicly, but it was leaked socially, it got a lot of attention, and I think it's a really good example of what we're talking about when we think about email as either a relationship building tool that builds trust and authority, or it's just a template that we can pour crap into and we can send out to people and we can sort of rise to the level of email blast, right? So for those of you who can't read it, very briefly, hello, thanks for stopping by our booth. We enjoy visiting with you and blah, blah. We want to offer you one of the following items, blah, 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 blah. Come learn more about our products on our website. Thanks, Jen. Jen actually has a hit out on me right now for using this in a presentation, but so far I've managed to avoid that. The concept here that I'm trying to indicate is most of us will use email templates, right? We need those kinds of tools and processes to make our work easier so that we're not starting from scratch every time. And most of us will not hit send and get one of these out the door in a huge, huge oops on a regular basis. But the point is, when we're creating emails or when we're using emails, when we are doing things that can help build a relationship, we need to start thinking about them a little bit differently than Mad Libs and filling in the blah, blah, blah section, right? Here's an example that some of you might have seen. How many of you use fab.com, the email site? Have any of you seen this? Have any of you received this after not responding and engaging with their emails for a little while? If not, what this is an email that Fab sends automatically to customers, and you can see down at the bottom, hopefully, if you can't read that briefly, smile, you're designed to, stop. We heard you loud and clear. We noticed you haven't opened our Sunday through Thursday evening sales emails in a while, so we've gone ahead and opted you out of them. The last thing we want is to clutter your inbox. Click here to opt back in or to customize your email preferences even further. How many of you have tried that type of campaign? Nobody, right? How radical does that seem to you? Sending something to your list, your subscribers, your customers, your prospects that says, hey, we see that you haven't engaged with us for a little while. We respect your time. We're going to unsubscribe. If you want to get back in, click here to get back in, right? This is not our company. This is not our email. I don't have a specific number for you on the results, but I can tell you that as it has still been going on for quite a while, it wouldn't not be working and still be continuing. So the point of this one here is that you're talking with the audience in a more one-to-one fashion than a remote e-commerce site. We understand, we hear you loud and clear, right? They're respecting the inbox. And they've done that in a way that builds that relationship, builds that trust. I know that some people got so excited about receiving this email, they were posting about it. The way I found out about it was an article on the Next Web where the author, the blogger, was so excited about how revolutionary it was to get an email that respects their time and their inbox, that they would do this. And several people have opted back in just from having seen it and signed up for it. Again, it's not about this specific campaign, but the underlying concept of thinking about the people that are receiving what we're sending as real people, not just list names, right? Not just email addresses, but people that we want to receive our information, our sales offers, whatever we have, our content, and we want to make it valuable for them. So with that in mind, there are three factors that I want to try and focus on. We'll look at a few case studies and a lot of ideas here that you can kind of implement. The first theme or factor is over-delivering on that what's in it for me, right? Again, nobody here really except for you, the gentleman on the right, wanted to sign up for another email these days, right? We're all inundated. We need to know the what's in it for me right up front, from the contact form, from the site and the content that got them there, to the sign up, to the welcome process, throughout that email lifespan, and into those other relationship channels. If we connect with them on social, whatever we do, they become customers from prospects. We need that what's in it for me right up front. Now the trick is, we know where we can go to get it, but a lot of the times, we don't really do it, right? Look at that survey. 76% social marketers feel they know what their consumers want, and yet only 34% have gone ahead and asked the question. How often do you survey your customers or the people on your email list? Let's say once a year, raise your hand. A couple of people once a year. More than that? Anybody else? Yeah, regularly? A couple regularly? How many don't survey them or ask these kinds of questions at all on a regular basis? Most? All right. The hands are lower, but they're up. That's fine. You don't have to put them up high. This isn't about shaming. So here's an idea for you. How many of you guys are familiar with socialtriggers.com, Derek Halpern's site? If you haven't seen it, it's one that I would highly recommend. There are a lot of great ideas there for building your content and your site. He talks about psychology, and I use his examples because there are so many good ones for building lists and for growing lists. This is one that I really think is especially powerful because it's so easy and anyone can do it, right? This is the welcome email when you're signing up for socialtriggers.com. And without getting into the entire thing, just so if you can't see all those aspects in the back, the real keys here are, one, the tone. What's up? Every week you'll receive valuable advice that shows you how to turn web traffic into leads and sales, right? Blah, blah, blah. But right now, I want you to do two things. Thing number one, if you use Twitter or Facebook, come introduce yourself, because I like to put a face to the name. Here's my Facebook link. Here's my Twitter link, right? Listen to that tone. It's direct, it's relationship building, it's not distancing, and it's helping to support that social channel growth as well and build stronger relationships, not just in email, but in social, and tying those all together. The other thing that's even better, in my opinion, is thing number two. I host live social triggers meetups all over the world. There's no charge, it's great for networking. If you'd like to know when I'm hosting one near you, fill out this form right here, right? In parentheses, it'll take you like 15 seconds. I ask for things like your name, email, and what major city is closest to you. So there are a couple of benefits to doing this. One is the segmentation value that you can use when you're asking for that additional information. And I know a lot of us have forms that have very low friction. It's either name, email, maybe another piece of information, social handle. But this is a great way, once you've gotten that first email and the welcome message, to take that next step and to get that additional information, right? Not only that, question number 4 on that very short survey is, in my opinion, the real key to this tactic. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What type of business do you run? What company do you work for? What's the one thing you think I should know about you, right? Think about if Magic Logics, the blah, blah, blah email, had used something like that. Just a very simple question, someone that you met at a trade show, trying to follow up and get more information. Think about how adding that to your welcome email, instead of relying on one big survey every year that you need to get an iPad for or something else, and you get X amount, maybe a 10% completion rate. Think about what can happen if you just add a simple question like this to your welcome email. I'll tell you what can happen. Over the time that Derek has run this, which is a couple years now, he's gotten thousands of real replies to this survey. It's not just about the value of getting a response. The thing is, the replies that he gets to this question are the same ones that he uses to devise the content for his site. It's what he uses to create his products. It's what he uses to create his videos. It's what he uses to create his offers. It's what he uses to create the copy and the language. Think about this. If you were signing up for an email, right, on someone's site, you got a welcome message, they asked you this question, tell me about yourself. First of all, that's going to stand out enough as it is, right? You're getting that email a few weeks later, you see that the subject of that email is a new video or a new piece of content, new ebook, new course, whatever, that's all about that same problem or same challenge that you had asked about, right? Think about the relevancy of that. Think about what that's going to do to your conversion rate, right? If you are working in niches where you have different types of content and you are getting that level of specificity from people who are joining your email, you can use that to enhance the products that you have, create new products, do the same thing with the offers, and tailor your content to raise the response rate and the conversion rate of everything that you're doing, not just with email, but on your site. Over about 2 years, and there are obviously more factors to it than just this one tactic, but all of that together, that mindset combined and how that influences the content and that relationship building has more than tripled the list for this site. That's the power of communicating with your subscribers as people, not just as list names, and asking them for their input, using that in a way that helps drive what you do, your content, your offers, your sales. That's the benefit of building relationships. And many of these same people are ones that are also, because of this email, following on Twitter, following on Facebook, right? And not just email. These are diehard fans that are being built with this one simple tactic. How long would it take you to put together 4 questions in SurveyMonkey and add the link into your welcome email? About 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? And if it could get you this kind of insight and this kind of result in your audience, would that be worth 10 minutes of your time? Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. So the tip here, really very straightforward. Test a short survey in your welcome emails. Improve your content, improve your segmenting, your engagement rates, get stronger offers. Think about how you can apply this tactic even in some other ways to what you're doing. On that same subject of using social media channels to help connect and learn more about your audience, Twitter chats. How many of you participate in Twitter chats? Oh, cool. All right, a few. How many of you actually run Twitter chats? Right. If you think about how you can get the benefits of feedback from your audience and apply that to your content, your sales, your leads, your offers, and your email marketing, social is one of the best places to do it, right? There's no cost, there's low cost, and as far as building an audience across different channels, this is a big one that you want to focus on. Another really good email from Christopher S. Penn always ends this way, with a link to the Facebook feedback loop, right? What Chris Penn, how many of you are familiar with his site by any chance? Definitely check it out, Christopher S. Penn, great author, a lot of good digital marketing ideas. This weekly email ends with this link back to a Facebook feedback loop, right? So he sets up a new Facebook post. Everybody can go click through and respond. There are about 5 to 7, sometimes 10 different subjects in the email, so it covers a lot of ground. These Facebook links start a conversation with the subscribers where he can figure out how, beyond the clicks and beyond different things for conversion and the sales aspects of the email, who is actually clicking on what they're getting from that. So in addition to the quantitative analytics that you get from your email service, you can use this qualitative feedback, this one-to-one feedback. You can use that to build Facebook friends, push them into new offers, set up different types of feedback loops with them over time, and use that to help feed back into your email list, your offers, and those types of things. And again, it's as simple as adding a specific link to your email and maybe creating a social page in the meantime. You could use this same example with other social channels. Pinterest, if you're doing things with other social feeds, Twitter, stuff like that. Growing your audience beyond email is one way to help build that relationship beyond just the inbox and get that direct feedback where people are. One more on this same topic. How many of you are familiar with AppSumo? Anybody? It's kind of like a Groupon or deal site for geeks and info products. We'll talk a little bit more about something special that they did in a minute, but in the meantime, one of the things that they do at the footer of their own email is they take the same concept. Instead of just using the Facebook or the Twitter links to share socially, you can see that there's a box down there for comment. When you click on that box, that takes you back to their site. It's not a live comment box in the email, but it takes you right to that section of the page. So that brings a ton of traffic back to their site. It brings the feedback on the offers and on the deals that they're promoting, whether they take the ratings through social channels or put it into the comment fields. Those are helping them to create the offers and strengthen the offers. We'll see a little bit more about that later. And then even on the unsubscribe page, they have customization options, daily, weekly, right? Tell us what you need to make a better experience. There's segmentation happening on there. How many of you are using segmentation right now? 2. Okay. What is keeping you, just shout out 1 or 2 answers real fast. What is keeping you from pursuing segmentation? Those of you who aren't doing it yet. What's holding you back? Just shout out one thing that is keeping you from doing anything with segmentation. Those of you who aren't using it yet.
Lack of understanding how it works and why.
Okay. Great. Is that pretty common? Is it the process is one that you guys aren't familiar with? All right. This is great. We can talk a little bit about this here. These are a couple of examples, right? The first one that I showed with social triggers, using those demographic or those location-based aspects for segmentation is a great, easy way to start. Additional pieces of information and fields, depending on what your products, what your offers are, you could either use age range, you could use things like birthdays, or if you're doing special offers, if you're doing niches, you can use either welcome emails if you don't want to use your sign-up forms to kind of figure out other types of targeted segments based on your products. Another easy way to get started is prospects versus customers, right? Segmenting different lists from people who have an interest but they haven't purchased yet versus those who are. And then things like email formats, right? One is, let us better customize your experience. Choose one below. One is, I'm looking to grow my business. The other is, I want to create a business, right? So it's not just HTML versus plain text, and it's not just those kinds of factors. You can really use that for business goals to help figure out who on your list is doing what and make it more relevant to them when you launch new products and services. Even when you have people who are unsubscribing, that is another opportunity to learn from your audience what you can be doing, what maybe you didn't do or what they're looking for, what doesn't necessarily fit. A couple of just brief examples. Hate to see you go. Can you tell us why you're opting out? I get too many emails, never signed up, I already have this, content was not helpful or valuable. Think about that. Think about how these types of feedback pieces are going to help you create either stronger content, stronger offers, new niche products. How many of you have a short form like this on your email unsubscribe page or process? One? Okay. So after you're done here today or at the conference, here's my recommendation. We're not even done this yet. I would say do 2 things. Set up a very short survey form here to capture this information from people who are unsubscribing, right? Find out what isn't working for the people on your list. Don't just leave it up to people who unsubscribe and leave and you don't have that opportunity to learn and improve what you're doing and optimize what you're doing. Use this, set this process up. It'll take you, again, 10 minutes. The other thing, take that same kind of survey option, maybe that challenges or open-ended question, put that on a welcome email, right? What doing those 2 things is going to give you, it will give you a sense of the lifespan of the people on your list. The people who are just coming on, it'll give you that information up front. The people who are leaving, it'll give you the information why they decided not to stick around. It's going to give you what is working, what isn't working, right? You can use that, put that together, and get a lot higher engagement rates out of your email overall. And then when you have that information or you have some ideas in mind for testing, think about ways that you can use these different frequency elements for testing. One is frequency. John Loomer had a test running that was daily versus weekly, even split it up into 2 sign-up forms. Another one, a site, Summer Tomato, offered 3 options: monthly newsletter, email articles, or RSS feed, providing different options. Again, putting the information out to our audience in the way that they want to receive it, at the time that they want to receive it, and with that, what's in it for me, is crucial to getting the engagement rates that we're all looking for. Even if the list doesn't get to 500,000, if you have a list of 500 or 5,000 people that is really engaged, and we'll see a couple of examples of this later as well, that's going to be all that you really need. It's not just the size. A lot of these things that you can kind of do with existing lists is really going to grow your business. Digging into the data for some insights beyond clicks and opens, right? We took one of our smaller lists that was a monthly newsletter, right? And we took a look at, this wasn't even set up as a test, right? This was set up as more of an audit. Because it was a monthly, it takes a long time. How many of you are running monthly newsletters? And that's really what you're trying to grow? Not so many? Great. How many are doing a lot more aggressive, either bi-weekly, weekly, or daily stuff? All right. Great. So you have an opportunity with those types of lists and those types of frequency to really get some good response numbers in a very short time. For this one list that we were looking at, because it was a monthly newsletter, to kind of get that information takes a lot of time. So what we did instead of setting up a test was we went back and looked at some of the different content pieces. So we took the top 5, we looked at the lead stories. 3 of them were ebook guides, 2 were webinars. Average response was a little over 20% open rate, almost 4% clicks. The bottom 5, we're leading with webinars, right? 4 of them were invites, 1 was a video app. The average response rate was under 18%. It's just a 1.1% click rate, right? We were going by what had been popular in a newsletter a year or so before, and we thought that that was working for this particular list. As it turns out, by focusing on the different types of content, we found that there was a difference, 14% more open rates on the top and 72% more click rate. So what do you think we did? We started to turn the content in those newsletters over to these top 5. And that starts to get you going in the right direction. If you could get 14% more opens or 72% more clicks without even running a test to figure that out, how would you feel? Pretty good, right? It's a good response. How many of you have actually done an email audit? I know it sounds painful. It sounds like jury duty, but how many of you have audited your own email in terms of going back and reviewing some of this response over time, doing either a scorecard format or just some of these basics? Very few? Okay. Is everyone familiar with the concept of an email audit, though, for going back and reviewing your KPIs, your key performance indicators, and looking at the ones that got you the wins, the ones that didn't, and trying to figure out some of those disparities, right? I don't have a framework for that in this particular presentation, but that is one that I would highly recommend. If you want to learn more about that, please ask me after the presentation. Happy to point you to a couple things that can help with that. It's really powerful when you can kind of take a step back, look at your email, and find ways that you can get those types of gains by making fairly simple changes, right? Changing from webinar invites to ebook guides. All that content was being produced for this list as it is. It was just the way that it was being framed. And some of the ones that fell off, if we had known sooner that those weren't going to get the response we wanted, we would have turned the direction earlier on. So at least doing this on a quarterly or regular basis is one that you want to try and do to get those insights and help change the content and boost the results. Any questions on those before I jump into factor number 2? Nope, great. Value and quality. Super important. I don't think I need to spell out why value and quality is important. Let's just look at a couple of examples real fast. How many of you are familiar with Raven Tools? Anybody? Great. This is one of my favorite welcome series. They have a 5-part series, and I know that for those of you who can't see in the back, going ahead and blown this up so you can see a little bit about what we're talking about. This email, to me, in this series is almost a complete package, right? What it's designed to do in this 5-part series is really get people from using, not just signing up for the free trial, but getting them into the product, right? Getting them up to speed on it, trying it out. This is step 4 of step 5, and I like this one because right from the very subject line, it gives you that value. Build reports in minutes, not hours. That's what you're going to get, right? There's the benefits. We're not talking about features here. We're talking about what you're going to get. You're going to save a bunch of time. You're going to get the information you need. Isn't it exciting? By this fourth lesson, we hope you're really seeing how Raven can save you time and make you money. Look at that formula. Results plus reports equals success. Orientation in 5 steps. Down at the bottom here, you can kind of see they have the context of the 5-part series. So you have that expectations from, if you've missed 1, 2, or 3, you can easily go back. You've got 5 coming ahead. So if you missed any part in the process or you're catching up, this one email makes it very easy to do. It doesn't leave you hanging. And you can see that they use a couple of different formats for content. They mix in video, they mix in other guides, and it really does deliver what people are looking for in terms of how am I going to get around to finding time to use this service today. Another one, we talked a little bit about AppSumo earlier. One of the things that I was really impressed with AppSumo was, for a while, they were sending out emails and deals that they themselves, as you can see in this email, which you can't really read, felt were subpar, right? Then one day they sent this out, and I'll just cut to the chase on this one. This was from the CEO. Over the past 10 months, we got distracted with growing a business by putting out too many deals too fast. Gone are the days of overzealous copy, products that are just okay, and a site we stopped checking. So they're putting a mission statement out here, basically. From now on, we'll only promote products that we're fully proud of as a team, that you'll be excited to share with friends. Ensure that every email delights you with pleasure/usefulness, whether or not you make a purchase, and email you when it's right for you, not us, i.e. not sending an email every day. Our lives are short. We're trying to make the most of it, do our part to help you kick more ass at your job, ultimately enjoy your life to the fullest, right? To their credit, AppSumo has actually lived up to this, right? Having been a subscriber before that, I knew exactly what they were talking about. This email, when it came, for me, it was kind of like that fab.com email, right? It stopped me in my tracks a little bit, and I appreciated the directness of it. I appreciated the candor. It wasn't even so much an apology or something like that, but it was really human, right? We realized that we were getting ahead of ourselves. We were sending garbage, and one of the reasons that they found that out and they made this change was that comments box that we looked at earlier, right? Getting that feedback from their prospects and their customers was what facilitated this change in the process and this email. This email itself was a very straightforward communication with the people in that audience. You can choose to believe it, you can not choose to believe it. For me, it built trust because they backed it up. After this email came out, they weren't sending daily junk emails every day with deals that were subpar and were getting slammed in the comments and the ratings. Their deals actually got better, right? They threw in some pretty good free offers now and then to kind of keep things exciting and mix it up and to put that value and that what's in it for me out there, even if you aren't buying anything. They've grown their business and have been adding more products and adding more deals significantly since this part. And while I don't have specific numbers on those types of bottom line impacts, think about what that feedback, that paying attention to your customers, that relationship building is going to do. Think about what it did for this business and how it can help yours. Again, this isn't necessarily me showing you examples so that you can follow exactly letter for letter, word for word. But if you think about these concepts and you apply them to the aspects of your email campaigns, your marketing in your own business, you're going to see radical results. This is just another brief example of early on welcome emails, right? The Nikki and Stitches one is a craft site. She talks a little bit about what you'll get from the email on the sign-up form, but when you get that first email, there's a surprise. There's a free bonus in there that she hadn't really talked about on the form, right? It's kind of like Zappos when you get that postcard in the mail or they offer you that free shipping or that free add-on that you didn't know was coming after you talked to their customer support team, but you get it and it just stands out, right? That's a relationship builder. It builds trust. How many of you are using a special offer in your welcome emails? Like a coupon or discount or anything like that? A few? How many of you are doing that as a surprise? How many of you might test doing that? Maybe split your list and test that as a surprise to see what happens with the engagement rates, right? That's a cool test to run. You could actually use that as a whole different segment, right? You could test different special offers in there that are a surprise, see how those results go. This was a pretty straightforward 15% off coupon there, but the results that 15% off coupon have gotten have been growing that list in terms of sales and engagement right off the bat, not just list size. So testing new incentives, thinking about offers a little bit differently, and maybe not always putting all of that on the email form. Maybe you build a solid enough offer on the opt-in form, but then when you send out that welcome email, you go above and beyond and see what the response is. You test that and see what you can do with some of those kinds of ideas. Joint content. How many of you are doing content with other partners? Right? All right, just a couple. These have been pretty powerful for us, and it's not just our site. You can look at a lot of different sites and see how teaming up with either different industry influencers or different partners, because most of us here are probably pretty small teams, and having enough bandwidth to create and produce and to put out and test everything that we want to do is always just beyond our reach, right? There's always more that we would like to try and do. But reaching out to new audiences to grow lists and to kind of reach people who are in our market but we haven't gotten into our email or social channels yet can take a big step forward by doing some joint campaigns, whether it's a joint ebook, whether it's a podcast, whether it's other types of social chats, hosted Twitter chats like we talked about before. We just launched one of those a few weeks ago, and that got a huge new audience. There are definitely ways that you can use partnering with other people in your industry and other influencers to help build that trust and authority right off the bat. Those are people that are going to come to your list the same way that a referral from a friend would. So even if those numbers aren't in the tens of thousands, the engagement is probably going to be higher. Using something like a joint co-branded ebook to help those kinds of signups for email and social. Absolutely a method worth testing. And since there were only a few hands up here that were doing that, I would say absolutely exploit it. That's been one of the biggest things that we've worked on. We've done it several times. There are only one or two times where it hasn't met our expectations. Otherwise, it's been quite good. As far as setting expectations, how many of you here are familiar with copyblogger.com? All right, great. There are a few people here with hands down that I know maybe it's late and you're tired, but if you haven't raised your hand yet, that's fine. If you haven't raised your hand on this time because you haven't seen copyblogger.com, I would strongly urge you to check out the site. It's one of the best sources for content marketing and digital marketing information. You don't just learn from the information that they produce on the site, you can learn by watching some of the things that they do. This is a great example of one of their most successful autoresponder campaigns. How many of you guys here are using autoresponders, by the way? Automated. Great, terrific. That's a pretty good number. The rest of you, if you don't use them yet, it's a super powerful tool. Be happy to talk about it after the session, but just really briefly, I'll blow through this one with just some highlights. They have a course called Internet Marketing for Smart People, right? So this is just kind of a very fast-forward overview of the process. Here's a snapshot of the page. Here's a snapshot of the sign-up form, right? Join over 97,000 smart people today, free 20-part course, and ongoing email newsletter, right? So the welcome series and the autoresponder is the beginning, the 20-part course. From there, you are moved onto their regular email lists, right? You are given the option to do so, and a ton of people make that migration, make that leap. It's a great introduction series, and we'll see why. So, okay, you sign up. Here's your confirmation page. You're almost there. Setting clear expectations right here. Check your email for a confirmation. If you don't see it, check your spam filter. Add us to your safe senders, right? Here's your confirmation email. Click the link below. Let's get to it. How many of you are using confirmed opt-in like this? All right, just a few. Cool. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But if you're not using it, this is why this is really important, this setting expectations process. Boom, there you go. Confirmed, you're all set. There's a landing page. Look for the first Internet Marketing for Smart People message in your inbox in the next few minutes. Autoresponder series kicks in right away. Remember to add us to your contacts or safe senders to help improve deliverability. And meanwhile, click here, look at that. Follow Copy Blogger on Twitter for the latest online marketing tips from around the web. Building the social audience in there as well, after the email confirmation is made and in between the new email coming in, right? So here's an example of the first email. What is it? What's Internet Marketing for Smart People anyway? This intro email really sets the tone. Hey, good to see you here. Thanks for joining us. It's relationship-based language, right? It's friendly. It's not distant. It's helping to kind of build that information-based relationship on value and direct human contact. The idea came from a bunch of conversations. There's a little story. There's a little backstory. It's a little different than your typical welcome email or your welcome series. Raven had a very software-oriented approach. This one, it's more information products based. It has a more direct storytelling approach. Always be asking and listening, right? About a couple months in here, you get an email that says, can you do me a favor? Can you give me that feedback, right? Sorry, went the wrong way. If you have some time, would you mind clicking reply to this email and answering one or more of the following questions? How has it helped you make your marketing better? Can you describe a technique you read about that you applied? Would you recommend this to a friend? If so, why? Where do we see this before? It's very similar to the welcome email survey that Derek uses. They don't even use a survey here. They just say, here, hit reply. We'll make it easy. You could test this version too. Either way, same concept. Dealing with your audience, getting that feedback, being very human and approachable. And then after about, I think it was probably about 12, maybe 13 emails in, after they have provided a ton of value up front on a regular basis with those emails, you get an offer, right? The ultimate deal on premise, their software and themes program. So it's not a heavy-handed offer, right? It's not one that you're going to get in your email box and you're like, oh, crap, this whole thing was just about sales this whole time, right? There's a relationship in place. They've given you value up front. That value exchange and that what's in it for me has already helped you. That's built that credibility and that authority. And now when that offer comes, it's based on something extremely relevant to help you with what you're doing with internet marketing. And it is definitely not viewed as a left field sales pitch. The results, this welcome series, which was not their primary list, drove 50% of the first week of software sales when they launched this. This was one of their platforms for launching it, in addition to the other list. It drove almost 80% of sales on their membership product, right? And this list itself, over the first year, doubled to almost 100,000. There's the value, it's the what's in it for me, the content gives you something that you really need. It's that human approach, that relationship building aspect. Follow us on Twitter, right? You are forming a relationship with the company. It's not just a series of emails that you get and you delete or ignore. You're starting to look forward to these. You know that the value is going to be there. It's becoming someone who you want to hear from. And that's an example of some pretty significant bottom line results, right? And look at those emails themselves. They're not fancy. They're not over-designed, right? It's not even this button, right? That sidebar, this hero shot, any of that stuff. There's a header, there's a footer, and it's plain text, right? It's the content, it's the story, it's the approach, and it's the value. It's not the graphics, right? It's not the particular word in the call to action or the color of the button or any of that shit. It is what you're delivering. And those are the results. All right, this is one of my favorites. List hygiene. Who loves hygiene? All right, fair enough. How many of you don't bathe on a regular basis? Anybody? How many of you aren't brushing your teeth or, cleaning up after your pets or, your kids? Why is it that we let email go the way that we do, right? We think it's pain. We're scared to death to get rid of those soft bounces, right? We think maybe they'll come back to us. Maybe it's something they're just waiting for the right time. Hygiene is one that just we never talk about. It's not sexy. It's not. But I'll tell you what is. How many of you are familiar with 60-Second Marketer, Jamie Turner's site? All right, good. Another great site that I want you to check out. And here's the reason why. Not only is it great information, smart guy, knows what he's talking about, really good guy. We ran a test with him when we were moving his service over from another provider, right? And he was very interested. He's, it took some cojones to do this, and I give him a ton of credit for that. We set it up so that instead of it was kind of a re-engagement campaign, if you think about it. He was letting his subscribers know that he was moving his list over to a different service, and he wanted them to confirm their opt-in. If I haven't heard from you in a little while, I want to make sure you still want to get this email, right? So he sent out 2 emails to try and set the tone. And then he was going to move over the list that was the remainder instead of just moving it all over without confirmed opt-in, right? You think he's nuts, don't you? A lot of people probably do. A ton of marketers are like, why would I ever do that? And like I said, I give him a lot of credit for doing this test with us. And here's what happened. This size on the font is big enough that you should see that in the back. Usually there are a couple of gasps that I hear from, some people there. He took his list from over 8,000 down to about 2,500. At which point, as you can see, he's already, he already shaved his head. He was already bald. He would have been pulling his hair out if he could have at the time. He was kind of, he was very unsettled for a little bit and was wondering what the heck he was, what he was thinking when he agreed to do it. And then something funny happened. Then he sent out a couple of other emails. And what do you know? The 1,000 or so, 1,200 people that had been opening his emails when the list was 8,250, they were still opening it when it was about 2,500. That meant his open rate was just about 50%, and that rose his average click-through rate to 7%. Now, obviously, your rates are going to go up as your ratio goes down, right? So that's kind of a no-brainer. But the trick is, using confirmed opt-in from that point on, those engagement rates held steady as he started to grow the list again, right? He did that with strong content, and he did that with confirmed opt-in. His engagement rates are still close to that level, right? Which is 50% open rate for a field as flooded as he has, right? Marketing information is pretty significant. The click-through rate, the list has grown. It's more than doubled in just about a year. Not only has it grown in size by that amount, the engagement held steady. So again, we think a lot of times confirmed opt-in, I don't want to bother people. I don't want to be a pest. I don't want to take a chance on this and that. It not only can work, right? When you move your list over, if you're starting from scratch, it's going to help you make sure that the engagement that you're getting from the people who are on your email list are actually the ones that really want to be there, right? We've seen a couple of other examples of using feedback from them. Think of confirmed opt-in as one other kind of aspect of seeking that feedback, right? Do you really want this? Click on this. If you're just here to get the ebook or whatever and you come, get it, and then you leave, great, that's fine. But if you're confirming it and you're delivering that value, you're building that relationship, providing this kind of content with a lot of what's in it for me, and people are seeing why they want to keep getting this email, and they look forward to it, and they engage with it, and they share it, that's perfect. That's what you want. There are other sites and other examples that kind of use that effectively, but this is still one of my favorite stories just because it's so far left field, but that's that one that worked. So making email a quarterly priority, right? And you don't necessarily have to flush all your unsubscribes or do everything or shift your whole process to confirmed opt-in, but if you have a bunch of people who haven't engaged with your emails for a while, we saw what fab.com did at the very beginning, right? We saw what Jamie did when he was moving them over. Try something with re-engagement and try something with hygiene so that you're not just paying for a list that is, 2/3 the size, and you're getting, 20% open rates, and you're paying for people who are never going to open, right? That's not in your best interest. Focus on the people who really want the information and use these techniques to try and get them. Key takeaways real fast. Obviously, listening builds relationships. We've talked about that. Value plus quality plus the what's in it for me. That's what's really going to get you the results. And thinking about everything that we've talked about, the underlying theme that this comes down to, when we're putting together emails, right? Think about that blah, blah, blah email at the very beginning. It's all about us. Click here to visit our site. We're all trying to get conversions. We're all trying to get open rates. We're trying to get click-throughs, things like that. We're trying to push our needs and our results onto our audience. But if you think about what's happened in some of these results, in these cases where we're serving our readers first, it's putting them first. It's listening, right? Providing that value, that what's in it for me, making sure that you are thinking about what's going out in email, not just from your side, but thinking about how it's received on the other side. That's what's going to give you some of the biggest impact you can get, right? Yes, you can change your button color from green to orange, right? You can change it from click here to download to submit, blah, blah, blah. You can optimize a ton of different ways. But, you're moving deck chairs on a big ship that's going slow and there's icebergs around it if you don't think about email from the mindset of the user and what you're really giving to them. Because we're not stupid. All of us can tell when nobody cares on the other side, right? If we're being sold, we're not going to respond to it. If we're feeling that the value is there, we're going to want to engage with it. So we need to have that rolled into our process at all levels, throughout the content, throughout the way that we send it, the way that we create it, the way that we measure it, and the way that we listen to make it better continuously. So there are three things here that I just kind of want to give you as sort of a takeaway to think about based on these examples, some of these ideas, right? Before I do that real fast, I asked at the beginning of this if you could please fill out your speaker evaluation if you have to leave. My goal here was to give you 3 to 5 ideas that you could take and put into action very quickly, right? We've talked about a couple 5, 10-minute ideas. We talked about bigger mindset. Before I ask you these 3 kind of homework questions, how did I do on that?
Great.
Good? If you got that, please just raise your hand. Let me see if I made that work for you. Great. All right, so these 3 things to think about. How would you rate your lists right now? Everybody in here has one. Think about it in terms of those KPIs in the dashboard we talked about earlier, right? How is it? I mean, what's the state of it? Do you have a high unsubscribe rate? Do you have a high bounce rate? Is your open rate low or your opens high but the clicks low? Where are the aspects that are not working for you? That's right. And then from there, figure out which of the areas need the most improvement, right? Which ones are the biggest priority areas, right? Where are people dropping off in the process? If you have a lot of signups but you get a horrible rate of engagement, what is happening? How is a welcome email or a welcome series going to fix that? Where are you able to insert different things or try different things in the process that are really going to help you reach the goals that you have? And when you think about that, just boil it all down. There's a ton of things that we can do, but just keep it simple. What are the 3 tests that you can run next? Whether it's your form, right? Whether it's the welcome series or the content on a regular basis, your offers, the click-throughs, the copies itself, you can get caught up in email testing for ages, right? Step back, think about those key areas, think about what 3 tests you really want to run next, and then just write them down, today, after this session, when you get out of here, when you get back to your office, just tee them up, right? Find those priorities and tee them up. Parting thought that kind of goes with that, like I said at the beginning. Building lists is something that anybody can kind of do, but what are you going to do that's going to build relationships, right? That's not just going to be about the raw numbers on list size, but it's going to be about those leads, right? Those sales numbers, those numbers that are going to grow your business, your social followers and how they tie in, those relationship aspects. What are you going to do for those? And with that in mind, again, I'll be here around for the rest of today. So if you want to talk about what you're doing, I would be happy to talk with you about some of that. I'll take a few questions. We have just a couple minutes. In the meantime, we have an ebook on how to optimize your email campaign. If you'd like a copy of it, please come up, just drop off your business card, or go to the bit.ly link that you see there, bit.ly/HB-ASW14. There's a very short survey on there that you can use to give me your feedback on this presentation, what challenges we can help out with. You'll probably find it looks pretty similar to some of the things that we were talking about. And again, if there's anything I can help out with, I'll be here after the session. I'll be here for the rest of the night and into tomorrow morning. I love to talk with people about what they're doing, how we can help. So please take a moment, give me your feedback. Let's talk about your challenges. And thank you so much for your time. We'll take a couple questions. We have a couple minutes. Yes, sorry, you had your hand up, Ruff.
You said if you have like the health of your list and it's kind of a high unsubscribe rate, like I'm really new to the industry, what's the standard benchmark that like if you're over this, like that's a high unsubscribe rate, or what's the standard?
A standard the question was, is there a standard benchmark for a high unsubscribe rate? I don't know that there's kind of an industry standard for that rate. It's not one that most people really love to share, so it's kind of hard to get benchmarks for that. But you can definitely see red flags if you are above, if you're above 15%, I would say that you want to take a look at where those expectations aren't clear with your audience, or go back and analyze where some of those unsubscribes are happening in the life cycle. Is it after 2 emails? Is it after 5? Is it after 5 months? And you can kind of drill down a little bit more that way, and that's going to help you see where the points in the process you really want to fix are. Whether it's on the front end, like if they're unsubscribing 2 emails in, something's wrong, right? You're setting them up for something and you're not delivering, or they're seeing something completely different. If they've been there for 5 months and then they drop off, maybe it's just needs changing, so that's re-engagement. So there are a couple ways you can use that even without an industry benchmark. Yeah?
Can you give me some guidelines on the hygiene point that you were saying? I mean, the obvious ones are the obvious ones, like hard bounces.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, would you be so kind in giving me some guidelines in how to start the list hygiene? I mean, the obvious are the obvious, the hard bounces and the, but I mean, after you get into that, then you start getting that, the fear kicks in.
Yeah.
So what would be some good points to do that?
Right, that's a great point. First is and a lot of email service providers will help you do this either automatically or regularly. The hygiene can be cleaned up where bounces will automatically be moved in a lot of cases, right? So they won't be sent. Unsubscribes are obviously not sent. One thing that you can kind of do to kind of keep that pool manageable is get your analytics, right? I mentioned a quarterly basis. If you get rid of all your unsubscribes on a regular basis without downloading and keeping track of your analytics first, you're going to be out of luck because you're not going to be able to go back 6 months or a year and see what happened, right? So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that on a quarterly basis, you're doing the reporting aspect of it first, right? You can download those, keep those reports, set those in more of a permanent place, and then let go of some of your unsubscribes, right? Use that on a quarterly basis, kind of review those, see if the rate goes up or down based on the changes that you've made, and if that rate is decreasing in any of those key areas, the unsubscribes, the bounces, things like that, you know that you're on the right track, right? You kind of continue with that process, cleaning the list, and if you're moving in the right direction, you're going to see that. If they are going up, then again, that's where you got to go back to figure out, all right, just like I was saying, where in the process are the most problems occurring? And that's where you kind of use hygiene plus metrics and analysis, that audit concept that we were talking about. You put all those together, and that's going to give you kind of a health check on your email marketing.
The moment that you upgrade, the deliverability actually goes better.
What's that?
The moment that you are having a higher open rate, your deliverability actually increases.
Well, those things can be separate. I mean, they work together, but they're not directly related. Your open rate can go up and down even if deliverability stays the same. Does that make sense?
All right.
But yeah, you definitely want to have strong deliverability for strong open rates. You can hardly have strong open rates without good deliverability, but no matter what deliverability is, your opens can go up and down.
Super. Thank you.
We have time for one more, right? Yes.
Do you recommend we still stick to the 600 pixels wide, or are you guys pushing responsive email design now?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you still recommend an email template or design that's around 600 pixels, or should
Or
we,
responsive?
Yeah, are you guys pushing responsive now too?
Actually, all of our templates are now responsive. So I would say that, yeah, we're definitely in favor of, think about the mobile usage of email. Think about how we're all using it these days. Right? You've seen it over 50%. You've seen slides around here and other events that talk about mobile opens being the majority now. So having a responsive template, and there are some questions about it. I know Tim Ash in his session this morning mentioned some things about responsive that he wasn't on board with, which were kind of interesting. So you can kind of hear both angles. But for me personally, and for what we do as a company, yes, I would say responsive is super important to make your emails, as user-friendly and as optimized for response as you can be. That's definitely important. So yes, I would say definitely responsive.
You were talking about site design, not email.
Oh, sorry, you were talking about site? I thought you were talking about email templates.
Tim this morning was talking about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Good point. Yeah, and he was talking about not having a site that is responsive and then sending you to emails that aren't and blowing up the process, which is also very important. You want to make your whole process. You want to make your whole process work in conjunction with a nice, smooth flow. So if you're doing the responsive emails, the importance of the site matching or people from going from one channel into the other is very important to consider too. Thank you. Good point. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm here to talk. Please fill out the evaluations, do the bit.ly, and keep in touch.